Toby was delighted to take Percy's stone cars to Brandon Docks. It was a wonderful treat. But Percy couldn't understand why. "It's only a harbor," said Percy. "Nothing special." "I like it here," said Toby. "It reminds me of the good old days. I went there in the other railway a long time ago. Didn't you remember?" Because Toby had only a small water tank, he always had to refill it at the station by the river. "What if we ran out of water halfway?" Toby wondered anxiously. "We shan't," said Toby's driver. "But what if the water tower breaks down?" asked Toby. "Thomas told me about water in the river." "Don't worry, Toby," laughed the driver. "We won't take you fishing." Brandon Docks was busy, and Toby worked hard. Not only the stone cars had to be taken down, but when they had been unloaded, they had to be sent back, often full of things brought by ships. But one day, the stone cars from the quarry didn't come. "It's not like Mavis to be late," said the driver. "I hope she hasn't had an accident and met another lorry that forgot to look where it was going." At last, the station master came over. "Mavis wasn't well this morning," he said. "She's better now, and she's on her way." And indeed, it wasn't long before, with a cheerful toot, Mavis rumbled into the yard. "Good morning, Toby," whistled Mavis. Toby wasted no time and setting off himself. Mavis was impressed. "You're doing great, Toby," she said. At Brandon Docks, Toby found so many freight cars waiting to go back that there was hardly room for what he had brought. "Phew," said his driver. 48 freight cars, and not all empty either. It's some megatrain. 2 journeys really, but we haven't have time today. We could leave some here and make 2 trips tomorrow." "Can we take them all now?" asked Toby. The guard scratched his head. Toby's crew looked doubtful. "We should be all right," urged Toby. So Toby's crew agreed. But Toby forgotten his small water tank. He had also forgotten that the journey was all uphill. By the time they reached the station, he had very little water left. His fireman turned on the water pipe and turned the tap, but nothing happened. "Oh dear," groaned Toby. "Now what?" "You could make it on your own," said his driver, "but not pulling this load." Then he winked at the fireman. "Well," the driver went on, "I do know somewhere." "Is it far?" asked Toby. "Not really," he said, and went to see the signal man, who told him to leave the freight cars. Toby pushed them carefully into the siding. Then he was uncoupled. And then they set off. "Where are we going to get water?" Toby asked. "You'll see," smiled his driver, and stopped Toby on the bridge. Toby was concerned. "Now," said Toby's driver, "where's my bucket?" "Oh," protested Toby, "you've promised." His driver laughed heartily. "We're only pulling your wheels, Toby," they said at last. "We'll go to the top station for water." "Then we can come back for the freight cars," laughed the fireman. When Toby told Percy about what had happened, Percy wanted to help, but his driver reminded him to take the mail in a few minutes. "Don't worry," said Toby. "I'll follow you down and have those freight cars back up here in a jiffy." And he did so too.